First of all, I would like to welcome you to Fame Games. Fame Games is a program about independent music, and we play music for independent artists. But today we're doing a special tribute show to one of our closest friends. And John was actually, I don't know if you're aware of it, he was a founder of Mere Music International, the company that sponsors the show Fame Games. And Tony, you were a partner to John when you developed, when you were actually promoting and managing Deep Purple. How did you and John meet initially before you actually came together to do Deep Purple?
I had worked in a family business. I was in the rag trade. We had a building and we leased the upper floor to John's advertising consultancy.
In the Edwards building, right?
That's right. And about 40 years ago, we met and became very friendly. And about 38 years ago, that was when our partnership started.
So what was John like as a person to work with in those early days? I mean, there have been some stories.
Great.
Yeah?
Yes, he was good. He was good. It was good fun, and we had, very exciting times.
Now, you and John are responsible for basically putting together the most successful rock band the world has ever seen.
Thank you.
What was the secret? What was the secret?
Hard work, 10%, and 90% luck.
You really, was that much luck?
Well, perhaps that's an exaggeration, but, I'm a modest guy.
What was your luckiest moment, do you think? A real breakthrough for the band?
But the really luckiest moments were that such a wealth of talent descended on us. Guys like Richie Blackmore, John Lord, and Ian Pace, and later Roger Glover and Ian Gillan.
Exactly.
David Coverdale and Glenn Hughes. These are wonderfully talented people.
Now, how did your partnership with John work? Did you have a division of responsibilities, or did you basically work together? How did that work for you?
We basically worked together. At first, John was more out on the road with the band, but in later years, from about 72 onwards, we were sharing that responsibility.
So what kind of relationship did you have with him outside of the band personally?
Very good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You went to dinner together, you had family gatherings together, did you see each other get married and all of those things?
Unfortunately, the music business and the rock business is very conducive to fragmenting families. And I was swimming today and thinking about how many divorces there were within management and artists. And I think I only came up with one artist that seems to have stayed with his first wife and continues that way.
Is it a nature of being on the road, being away from family, not really having any holidays?
I think it was also a very heady experience.
Now, there's a story that I'm going to ask you about. Richie Blackmore. He was a bit of a wild one in the band, wasn't he?
Difficult to manage. I do remember a car being driven through the doors of a hotel, I believe it was in Edinburgh.
Aha. What types of things were you doing for the band that maybe they didn't know about? Maybe they took for granted?
I think it was more the doors that we opened and the fact that we were open to ideas. It was a chance remark of John Lord. I've always dreamed of composing a work that could be performed by a rock group and orchestra.
Right.
Led to Concerto for Group and Orchestra in 1969. I could run with it.
Exactly. Now, we know that John designed a few of the album covers for Deep Purple. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the theme for today's show, we've actually chosen one of the albums he designed, which was Who Do We Think We Are?
Yes, that was very much a joint effort because I think I provided the services of James Burke, who was a very famous television scientist and personality, and the pictures on Who Do We Think We Are come from NASA.
Oh, wow.
They've been adapted so that images of the individual members of the group are within the orbs.
Exactly, yes. So do you have any idea where the title of that album came from?
I remember that we put together a collage of newspaper cuttings and features about Deep Purple. I don't know which came first, the collage or the title.
Yeah, that's how the creative process is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, today, we're going to be getting on to that in a minute. You are still very active in the music business, if you will.
Yes.
But before we talk about that, I wanted to know from you personally, what do you remember John the most for?
I've been thinking really, really hard about this. And I've been speaking to one other person that knew him almost as long as I did. And we both felt that he was a person that you could have the most terrible argument, but he had a way of calming the situation, soothing ruffled feelings, just making everything within a very, very short time return to the normal relationship that he had always had.
Yeah, he had a very sweet phone voice as well. I think it was something like a hypnotic voice or something, I think.
He could coax, he could soothe. He was a charmer.
Oh, that's fantastic. Paul remembers John telling him a story about John punching somebody out at a show. Do you remember any of those things? Was John a heavy?
I wasn't around for that one.
It's a shame because the inside information is funny. But maybe that was just one of the stories John liked to tell to prove he was still a tough guy.
Yeah, he did like that image.
Yeah, the Italian in him, you know.
In Italy, and when he would call me, and it could be a delay of a month, or 3 months, or even a year. But of course, his terms were instantly recognizable. But he would announce himself as Giovanni Luigi.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was quite sinister because there was a hint of the Marlon Brando about it.
And that's how you remember John. How would you like him to be remembered in the music industry?
I think as a person that made things happen and that developed and worked well with artists and made a difference.
Absolutely. I have your bio in front of me, Tony, and I was absolutely amazed. And when I saw the list of credits to things that you're currently doing, for example, the credits with Les Mis, some of the most wonderful Broadways I've ever seen, Miss Saigon, Blood Brothers, My Fair Lady, Mary Poppins. Are you still working with First Night Records?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I own it together with John Craig, but I'm very much a backseat partner now. I'm an elderly bloke.
No, you don't sound like it.
Not that much different from John's that birth date, and I think he was 1 year older than I.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to say, Tony, thank you so much for your words. I want to say my condolences to you for the loss of your longtime partner and friend for so many years. Our hearts are with you because your loss is also our loss. John, one of his last projects was actually he landed a deal for my album.
Oh, wonderful.
And we were at his house on the Saturday before he died, getting the contracts between ourselves and Seabreeze. And so we were most likely the last people to see him, and we're very, very heartbroken here as well. And it's an honor. An absolute honor for all of us. Next week, Tony, we're doing a 2-part tribute to John. This week is focused on Deep Purple, and next week we'll be talking about his other accomplishments. And we'll also mention, of course, your participation with the Madonna's Ray of Light album, how that came from the Curtis Muldoon catalog. And I'll be learning a lot more about you. And I think that the fantastic part of this tribute to John is that for all of our independent musicians out there who are faithful listeners of the show and who submit their music, is going to be the greatest lesson in the history of rock and roll that they could ever have. And to have you on the show so that they can actually hear your voice and hear your words of experience is absolutely invaluable to us. And I want to thank you so much.
And John would have been so proud about what you are doing for him to commemorate his life.
He was a wonderful man, and he's going to be very, very, very much missed. And the reason I chose the theme, Who Do We Think We Are, is because I didn't realize how much of our own identities were linked with him. And it's going to be difficult to understand who we are now that he's gone. He was really one of our heroes, and he was only 10 minutes from the studios. And the exciting thing is that whenever Paul and I got stumped with a music business dilemma,
yes,
we would call John. He'd meet us for coffee immediately. And in 5 minutes, he had the whole thing sorted out.
That's great.
But it was good. It was good to have somebody to call who could give us advice from experience and cut right through the crap, you know? John was good at that. Anyway, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for calling in to Fame Games, and we'll be in touch again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.